everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. As of today, Holiday Frame is still out of stock, so I will be back next week with more planned holiday projects for you with that set. But for now, I'm going to be doing another pressed flowers card because y'all gave me such great feedback from that last week. Thank you so much. So today, instead of the poinsettia, I'm showing you something that you can do with the sunflower, excuse me. I've got a lot of different techniques packed into this particular video and a couple little tips for you as well. So I just want to go ahead and get right into the project. And then I have a couple other samples just to show you some different ideas with these sets. You're going to be using the pressed flower set from Gina K Designs, and you're also going to be using the A Year of Flowers 2 set. So here's the image sheet that I have colored in. Going to be using the Darius Dandelion embossing folder. Just love this with the sunflower, and you can find this in the Gina K Designs store. Just some adhesive and some little foam squares. The cardstock that we're using today, I've got the Gina K Wild Dandelion. This is an A2 base. It's, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2. I've already embossed this piece of Pure Luxury Heavy Base Weight White. I really like the base weight for doing my embossing because you get more texture out of that thicker cardstock, but you can use the layering weight as well. This is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. Then we've got just a piece of white, and this is 2 3/8 by 4 1/8. And then to layer, we've got 2 1/2 by 4 1/4. Some acrylic blocks for those images. The ink pads that I'm using today, I've got the Gina K new Wild Dandelion that coordinates with that cardstock, the Jellybean, the fresh asparagus, and I'm also going to add a little bit of the prickly pear. You didn't see that on the sample, but I'm going to show you some two-stepping with that. And then just the Memento black for my greeting. Couple embellishments I'm throwing on. I've just got a little 12-inch piece of black gingham and then a red button. Gina doesn't carry these in the online store anymore, but she's got a great button bar at Village Paper and Ink where you can go and get one color, all colors, brads. So fun. Then I'm going to show you just some tips that you can do using the Nuvo Crystal drops that I showed you in last week's video. And this is the red berry again, which I used last week. And then just some fun things that you can do with a black Sharpie and a white gel pen. So let's begin by stamping out our focal point and our background paper. So a little bit different today. I did some collage stamping, but something that I wanted to show is how fun it is to have a texture showing through with a debossed background when you use your different embossing folders. You'll also need some kind of die cutting machine that you can roll this through. So I already embossed this just because it's a little bit easier with the video. So there's two sides when you do the embossing folder. You've got one that's going in and one that's going out. So you're going to sandwich your paper in, roll it through, and it's going to come out with a design that's popping out. So this is the embossed side, but then you've got some different possibilities on the back. This is the debossed side where your design is pressed in. So I am going to be stamping on the debossed side because you've got more of a flat surface to pick up that stamped image, but it's going to skip all these debossed areas, and so that beautiful flower texture is going to come out. So let's begin by just doing some of our bold stamping here with the sunflower. And last week, I didn't do any of the direct to stamp by adding any kind of shades or anything on the inked image. I just used one solid color, this red on this poinsettia. So today I'm going to just do the Wild Dandelion, and I chose to put it over each of these dandelion images. So I'm going to put one here, one here. I'm turning the stamp as I go. So see, you're getting those petals, but then it's skipping a little bit, but you're still getting that impression of that flower. It's just going to create a really interesting background. Next, I'm going to do the leaf. So I always work large to small, so you want to do the flowers first, then add, or excuse me, that's not right. Put away the yellow. Done with the yellow. Okay, so now we're going to do the Jellybean. And I'm just going to put this in between And again, it's going to skip over those flowers and circles. But isn't that pretty how that texture is coming out? It looks like a really expensive piece of pattern paper that you would buy that has all that texture on it. Just really adds a lot of interest to your card. And then I'm going to go in just with one of those tiny little filler pieces. And let's see, it's this little, kind of tiny little vine piece. And I'm going to do this in the fresh asparagus. Let's see how quickly this goes. We've already got this whole thing filled in. So I'm just going to put a few of these around at random. And then we'll fill in that center. And that is going to be a direct to stamp technique where we're going to roll on some of the darker green on that center. So here's the center for the sunflower, and it's just right below it in the set so you know which one matches up. You can tell by the size, but okay, so we're going to just ink this up so you can see that's green all over. And then I'm going to roll. I'm going to keep these both open since I'm going to be going back and forth. I'm just going to lightly roll the edges of that green, and then I'm going to take the corner of this pad and dab it just into the center like you see in those sunflowers at the market. And then just press that in. So you're not going to see it as much on the embossed background as you will on our focal point, but you will on the flat paper. But I'm just trying to keep it consistent. Putting that in there, going back to the lighter green. And if you want, if you're getting a lot of the dark green on there, you can stamp it off before you go back to your Jellybean green, but I'm really not. So we're just rocking and rolling the edges. And you can even, if you want, you know, you can use these as their own kind of little flower, like as the dandelion, before it actually opens up. That would be another thing that you could do in those in-between places. But I want a little bit of the white to show. Okay, so got that last one. Okay, so there's our background paper. Now see, you could also do this side by sponging something over it. So there's a lot of possibilities with these embossing folders. You can also do a lot of inking techniques on the folder, but that's for another video. Okay. So now let's make our little focal point here, and I want to show you several different sunflowers that I stamped out, and you can keep this as just a little reference sheet to see, and I probably have it zoomed in so that you can't see them all at once, so maybe I'll turn it this way. Okay, that's better. So these are all stamped in the wild dandelion like I did on this card. This is with no overstamping of that second layer from the A Year of Flowers too. So these four right here show you what it's going to look like and how different it looks when you're layering a different color over it. So right here, this is just the wild dandelion stamped over wild dandelion. It's very subtle. Here I used the Jellybean, and that's just a nice fresh springy green. The black, that is really going to pop the most, obviously. And then here I wanted to show you if you want to stay in that same color family with the yellow, this is with the prickly pear. So I think I'm going to add that one on today just to make it stand out a little bit more so that you're seeing just some more detail rather than just the bold stamping. So we're going to grab our dandelion, or excuse me, our sunflower again. Keep calling it a dandelion since we're using that flower folder. So I'm going to do the yellow. And then I'm just going to put it at the top of my mat and stamp. And then we'll do that center. Same way we did before, just stamping it on the lighter green. And then doing just a little bit in the center. And then on the edges. And you can also just gently just brush it on if that's easier for you than rolling it. And line it up, and it's a little flatter on the bottom than it is on the top. It kind of has a point, so that can help you set it in there. Okay, and then we're going to use this bold stem, and I like the thicker one for the dandelion. I've got a thick and a thin one in that set, so the thin one is for the more delicate flowers. And I'm going to use the Jellybean, but then I'm going to take the fresh asparagus, and I'm going to do just a little bit of it at the top, kind of like a little, or actually, Yeah, I'll go ahead and go that way this time. So on the other one, I had it going this way. This time I'm going to have it going this way. So this works either direction. And then I'm going to take my bold leaf. So the one with the jagged edges and lots of veins in it, that's the one that I like to use with the sunflower. And then I'm just going to put, again, a little bit of this, just brush a little bit of this darker green onto the bottom of that leaf. And then I'll tap a little bit on here. Okay. And then I'm going to use a greeting from that A Year of Flowers 2 set. And it's just in my own handwriting. I'm going to use the black just to make that really stand out from the green. I'm going to do it across the bottom of the mat there, just the For You, so that can work for any occasion. Just throw that in my basket. So as much as I'm enjoying, I think I'm going to put it off to the side a little bit here. Okay. All right. Now I'll go ahead and I'm going to adhere this to my black mat. And if you want to do, if you've got sponge daubers and you want to do some sponging around the edges, you could do that. And I'm also going to add just that outline of that prickly pear. And if you want, you could go back and you could add that onto this mat just to tie that in. So we'll see how that looks. So just lay this right over until I see the center disappear under that. Okay, that's pretty. So I think I'm going to do that on just a few of these since I've already got the pad open. Yeah, that's nice. So a lot of different ways to do this. So remember to have fun when you're stamping. Just play around with different things. All right. So then, and I was thinking about maybe even changing the layout here because I really like to show y'all different things on these layouts. So I think I'm going to do this layout sideways. And one thing I really like about that, you're seeing more of that pattern underneath. And don't fret about the flowers going this way or those dandelions going this way instead of straight up like they would grow. It's a piece of art. I'm going to go ahead and tie this bow around it though. Just gently lay this on here. And I'm using the dots, and I really like the dots because they're permanent, but they do allow you to move it around a little bit. So you're not committed if you have to change something or you don't get it straight the first time. And then just have a little pair of scissors handy so that you can trim the ends of that. So it's nice and neat. And then this is really fun, but I'm going to show you with these Nuvo dots. Okay, so on this, I did this one ahead of time because it does take a little bit of time for this to dry. I'm going to go ahead and put my foam squares on this just so that I can move the card around. I don't have to flip it over after I put the Nuvo dot on for it to dry. So I'm going to put this right here. And we're going to make a dimensional little ladybug here with this Nuvo dot. So this I did the other day. It doesn't take that long to dry, but that's when I did it. So I'm just going to add one here. And you don't want to touch it to the paper. You want to hold it a little bit away. And then just let it drop. And then you can just tap on the back to help it spread out so that it lays flatter. Okay, and then I'm just going to set that aside. So this one is already dry, and this is something that I discovered is really cool and different about the Nuvo Crystal Drops from, let's say, Liquid Pearls. It really dries hard. It doesn't have that spongy quality that the Liquid Pearls sometimes do. So I found the other day, experimenting with my pens, that you can actually draw on them. So this was the card I made last week, and if you can see that, I made some little polka dots with my gel pen and my Sharpie. And then I also used it with my Twine Time set. I used the Twine Time stamp, the piece image that looks like a piece of twine, stamp that in a light ink, and then use that as my guide to pipe on the red berry Nuvo Crystal drops. Once that dried, there were a few places that it kind of squished up and so that you didn't really see that little loop in the center, so I was able to draw that on with my white pen. That was very exciting. And then I just freehanded these little candy canes and was able to draw stripes on them. So many fun things that you can do with these drops. So that made me think, okay, I really want to make a ladybug, but I had to do it on one that had already dried. So all I'm going to do, and I wish I had a skinnier Sharpie, but this is the only one that I have right now. Just going to make a little line on that in the middle. And then 1, 2, 3 little dots. And then you can make the little head. And that's it. It's such a fun little embellishment. And you can see it's really shiny, super dimensional. And then if you wanted to even add the white, you could make a little highlight on the head and on that shell. Isn't that fun? So I will be sure to add that to this card. But let me know in your comments which one you like best. If you like, let me put them like this since I did this one before, the A layout or the B layout. Gosh, I'm really loving this. It's so funny how when you change something around, just how fresh it looks just by making one change. So I really encourage you to experiment with those things when you're playing around. I hope you enjoyed this new project with the Year of Flowers 2 and Pressed Flowers. Both are available in the Gina K Design store. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, and for more inspiration and ideas using all of my stamp sets and Gina K Designs and Stamp TV. Thanks for watching today. God bless.